Hi, everybody. Welcome to ARG Sinclair. I'm John.
I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Ninja Scooter Simulator. Now, Aaron.
Weird name, but
do you like ninjas?
I do.
Do you like scooters?
I don't.
So we're sort of one for one here. Where do you stand on simulators?
I'm in the middle on those.
Okay. Well, I think that averages out. Tell me about when you were a kid. Did you ever have ninja tools or ninja weapons?
Oh God, yes. Ninjas were awesome. When I was younger, well, I would say upper middle school, early high school. That's when the ninja craze kicked up big time, right? The mid '80s, Shokasugi. And all the cool, I grew up watching the old kung fu flicks, Saturday morning chop suey theater on a local television station. So I was already into martial arts, and I was into Bruce Lee. Then here come the ninjas, which were awesome. I had shuriken, throwing stars. I got chucks. I was also in karate, so I had a bow staff. So I had the accoutrement to really get into it. And we used to have a lot of fun. I had friends that had tabby boots, and they had the little gimmicks you throw down that people step on. I can't remember what they're called. Yeah, that's it. They actually had some of those. So we were fully into it. I guess now you're several years younger than me. Had the ninja craze went by before you got?
It sort of had, but there was one thing that brought it back. There was a little thing called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that was sort of a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
It took over the world. Between me and my friend that lived down the street, we had about 6,000 of the figures. I used to have this fantasy where I would be in my basement and I would be a ninja and I would be a Major League Baseball player at the same time. So I would be watching baseball and then I would wall run, which means that I would go up and I would touch the wall with the bottom of my foot and I would tell myself that I was wall running and I would catch the baseball with my ninja skills.
Have you played Ninja Baseball Batman?
I have.
So that's your dream game.
Yes. Well, sort of. Sort of the fact that it really doesn't have anything to do with ninjas or baseball. But yeah, it's I love ninjas, and of course I was in martial arts too. I never saw sort of the harder edged ninja stuff until I was in middle school, and we used to watch the American Ninja series. Mr. Simmons used to put that on for us, and I was like, "Oh, these guys are different than the Ninja Turtles." So,
the Ninja Turtles suck.
What?
I never liked them. You heard me. I like their game. Don't get me wrong. Their video game. But I don't like them. I never liked. They were, by the way, I was around when there was a comic book and a role-playing game before it was a cartoon.
What about Splinter?
So I was at the ground floor.
He's an old rat, and he gives sage advice.
Yeah, it's dumb. That's got nothing to do with ninjas. Just because it's just lame. Ninjas are ninjas. They're not turtles, for God's sakes. I never got into the whole Ninja Turtle universe. In that universe, all the ninjas are robots, and they suck, and they get the crap kicked out of them. I like a proper ninja. That's he sneaks around, he could disappear in a puff of smoke. That kind of stuff, swinging on cables and stuff. The Ninja Turtles. I was probably too harsh. The Ninja Turtles don't suck. If that's your bag, that's your cup of tea. Because they were in my wheelhouse. I just didn't get into them.
The greatest cinematic moment of my life. I still remember. Well, it started at the book fair. At the book fair, they'd always release books based on the movie before the movie came out, or at least that's the way it seemed to me. And I remember seeing a poster or a book or something with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze. And it was just them looking at this ooze, and I was like, man, this ooze looks like it's the baddest thing ever. Then I went to see, no, I take it back, these are two separate stories. Yeah, that's right. Because the first time, and I remember sitting in the theater, and there's this, I'm sure you've seen these movies, right?
God,
You've
no.
never seen the Teenage Mutant? Between that and Hook. By the way, I dropped a major Hook reference the other day. You didn't catch on at all. I was expecting you to pick that up and
I haven't
run
seen
with
that
it.
either.
Anyway, there's a guy in a pizza store, and he's getting robbed, right? And then
a pizza store.
That's
You mean a restaurant?
It's a pizza store. You got to get your terminology right. Okay? And then all of a sudden you just see it's like jumping up out of the darkness, freeze frame, title sequence, boom, zooms in, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. I jumped out of my chair and I screamed. I was so excited. It was I'm not going to say it was probably the best moment of my life. I
don't know. The whole mutate. Listen, you're a mutant turtle, right?
It is a little weird.
At that point, do you need to be practicing ninjutsu on top of that? And is trained by giant mutant rat? Where the heck did he learn it? Some secret ninja master said, "I'm going to teach this rat."
Well, no, he was a
human
knowledge. Too. They were all humans, and then they all turned into different things.
I don't know. If I'm a human, I get turned into a giant rat. The last thing on my mind is teaching other mutants how to kick people. I'm going to be pissed off.
What would you do?
What I'm going to be. I'll be finding
What would be your first move? What would be your
that?
first move if you were turned into a mutant rat?
Probably seclude myself, and not in the sewer either. That's something else about these guys. They're taking pizza in the sewer. Yeah. Have you ever been in the sewer?
You don't want to hang out in the sewer. It's not like it is.
And you don't want to eat down there either. I agree with what Tin Mark said a minute ago. The only thing that show had going for it was April. She was kind of cute. But that's pretty much the extent of it.
What about Casey Jones?
And the rest of it,
Casey Jones wore a hockey mask.
Dumb.
Okay. Now, we need to talk about your abiding hatred for scooters. Where does this lie?
My kid's got a scooter.
Right.
Right? And it came with a helmet, some knee pads. When I was a kid, no one wore any protection of any sort. Not because we were super bad. We just didn't know, but no one had it. There was the kid riding the scooter was the loser of the neighborhood. Like this was, if there was a kid, no one in my neighborhood had one, but I saw other neighborhoods that had them. And they would always be the doofus that was trailing behind the other bikes. Now either they couldn't afford a bike, that sucks. Or this kid couldn't ride a bike, which isn't good. Anyway it goes, this kid was sort of the outcast because he was trying to keep up with the bike people on a scooter. So when I saw my kid scooting down the street to keep it up with our neighbor on her bike, I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, it all came rushing back.
Now I've got a scooter
now,
boy
does Luke's got a bike, doesn't he?
The scooter's just lame, Did you ever have one?
I never had one. There was a kid down the street, and there are classes of scooter. You have the ones with the plastic wheels, sort of like the rollerblade wheels, the Razor scooters. I always thought those were lame. I like the ones with the big beach cruising tires on them. I always thought they were cool, but I never, I was always a bike guy. I don't hate scooters, but I'll go with the bike every time.
That's right, because you can't take a scooter anywhere. There's like this much clearance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where are you gonna take it? Now they do have they've got these scooters that have a motor on them. You know what I mean? They got a little motor.
I think they call them Segways.
And they will actually. No, not a Segway. I'm talking a proper scooter with a little motor, right? And I'm okay with that. If it's self-propelled, the thing that's okay. But when you're kicking your leg off there and you're riding that thing, you're looking like a geek. There's no cool guys. No cool guy ever zoomed. No vampires or ninjas ever rolled into a scene on a scooter.
I beg to differ.
Because if they did, they would just get pounded by the opposition.
I beg to differ, Aaron, because today's game is Ninja Scooter Simulator, and that's exactly what happens.
They're trying to bring scooters back. Maybe over in the UK, scooters were less geeky or nerdy. But I'm not, after playing
from looking at a lot of Spectrum games and reading a lot of cassette fronts, the people in the UK in the 80s were desperate to look cool and be like the United States, because on the front of these games it'll be like, it's just like what's going on in the States right now. So
is that really true?
I am totally serious. I'm totally serious.
On behalf of the States, please don't do that ever again. You're your own people, and you're for God's sakes, don't do it now. Never imitate us now.
180.
Run. It's funny you should mention this because I like before we get heavily into the game, I like these inserts, Boat, and I happen to print this thing out here, Boat, and this is what's written on the cassette sleeve. Whiz, that's with 2 Z's. Whiz through the night on your dream scooter, capitalized. jumping and dodging the grates that would slow your progress, and also holes in walls that'll slam you out. Use the ramps to make leaps and pull some rad ninja stunts. You gotta beat the clock to beat the rest, so don't hang around. Ninja Scooter's the best.
It is. It's like Shakespeare.
With an intro like that, you know it's gold. So this was Ninja Scooter Simulator. The second you announced this last week, I got all fluttery inside because this is the kind of garbage that I love. I just the name that's stupid. I was like, oh yes. This thing was released in '88, published by Silverbird Software Limited. I looked at what they'd published, and I don't think we put any of this stuff, Bo. They'd done a lot of stuff. They did the Star Strike series, the Cauldron series. They did a game I'd like to play called Sirloin, which
that's pretty clever. I like it.
Scuba Kids sounds right up your alley, Bo. This was authored by, and this is a weird one. The authors of this were listed as Cysoft and JPW. So I don't know if those are cool names or I don't know what they are. Cysoft worked on Beach Buggy Simulator. Something tells me it's a lot like this one. That's just a guess. JPW also worked on Beach Buggy Simulator. He also worked on Cosmic Kanga and Solomon's Key. Now, Solomon's Key, I think I've heard of that game. Both of you?
The Solomon's Key got an NES release. I believe it is a.
That was on the Atari too, wasn't it? On the 8-bits?
I don't think so. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Okay. This came out for a £1.99 boat. A pretty. I want to say
deal. That there were. I think I remember reading this in Retro Gamer that all of the Bird releases were from one company, and I think like maybe it was like Firebird was always the best. Those were like the full price games, and then maybe Silverbird was like the £1.99 budget. And then I think there was a Rainbird where they paid you to play the game. They were so bad.
Right. Is there one just called Pigeon? That's the one where that's where it's just rock bottom. We'll take whatever you offer. So, well, what do you do in Ninja Scooter Simulator? First of all, this is another one of those games that's got the Dreamcatcher seal of approval, where they've boxed the whole game into like one smaller area. That's because they had to have room at the top to put the logo. So we always reference this Dreamcatcher article where he talks about games. This isn't the worst offender, but anytime I see one with the big stylized logo, I'm like, oh, they're killing space right here. So this game is as simple as a game gets. All right, it's got Kempston joystick, it's got the usual stuff. You're a dude on a scooter and you're scooting through levels, rounds they're called here, and you've got to get through the entire level. And you've got to not crash. And occasionally you'll pick up little time bonuses. That's the game. You go from the beginning to the finish line and try not to crash. Now, what changes? Well, along the way at the various levels, you will encounter some obstacles, Bo. Early on, it's pretty simple stuff like walls and like bumps and ramps. And later on, it gets a lot more wacky. When the other riders are coming out, and there's dead people coming out, there's crap chasing you, there's skulls bouncing around. It gets pretty bizarre, Boat. When I played this, I was actually gratified and pleased that it was so simple. You've got a joystick and a button that makes you jump. That's the controls. What did you think? What were your first impressions when you load this sucker up, Boat?
My first impressions were, boy, there were some poor decisions made in the color department of this game.
What?
Because, we've done a lot of Spectrum games, and there's the right way to do colors on the Specky, and there's the wrong way. This is the wrong way. If you want to have contrasting colors on the playfield, like for example, if we're watching the video right now, you've got a blue playfield and you've got green obstacles, player, and background. And then you've got a starry sky in the back. That's all great. That's fine. But then when you mix it in with the red time limit or the neon green and yellow logo at the top, the purple and blue stripe going around the middle, it just looks like it almost looks as bad as a C64 game.
Well, he said that, folks. That was John Bodekar Schaller. You know, it's funny. We've played a lot of Sinclair, like you said, and I've gotten so used to it that I didn't, not for 1 second did I think about
Really?
the colors. Until someone in chat mentioned it and about how garish they were. But when I was playing this, I didn't even consider the colors at all. It's washed away from my mind.
In an effort to mix up the stages, they change up the colors on every stage. Some of the color choices look okay. Some of them just look so horribly bad. But again, they were trying to do a lot with a little, and so that was my first impressions were, boy, this is not a pleasant looking game from a color perspective.
I'll tell you, my first impression was, because I'm looking at the setup here, okay? You've got your background, you've got what you've got in this game, just to narrow it down, you're going down like an alley. As you look at it, as we're looking at it now, it's about 4 squares wide. And it goes on from left to right. It's a scrolling road, right? And your guy is a dude on this scooter, and it looks like to me it looks like he's wearing one of those like a headband, like the do-rag gimmick boat, and he's riding along on his scooter. Now, the very first thing I thought when I saw this game I was like, this guy is not a ninja.
No. If he is, he's the lamest ninja that's ever existed.
Well, so here was my thought on this, folks. Maybe we misinterpreted this. Is there a scooter called a ninja scooter?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
I thought this was going to be a ninja on a scooter, chucking shurikens and sword suckers, all right? But I bet my bottom dollar that, because we both, and I'm sure someone in chat can tell us if we're idiots. They could be appalled that I just said that. But I don't know about you, but I expected there to be a ninja on the scooter.
Well, when you consider
sort of like ninja golf.
That on the front of the cassette there is a ninja riding a scooter, I don't think it's too much to ask.
Oh, okay. I didn't see now that I look at it. Yeah, I didn't even pay attention to that. You've got it up here. You're right. I feel less stupid now because I was afraid it was just that I thought, man, we're gonna look like idiots. But yeah, I was disappointed with the scooter. But that much said, I started playing this game. We play a lot of these Sinclair games, both that you would think the tiny little Sinclair would be a simple machine with a lot of simple games like the CoCo sort of. And then you get into these like deep, unbelievably deep, complicated affairs, and even some of the simulator games. Remember BMX Simulator? That was no that was it was tough. It was a tough game.
I thought you were going to say it had sim elements, and I was going to argue with you because that is about as far away from a simulator as you can get.
Right, but I'm saying it was a tough game. This game it's simple, it's fast, it's not deep at all, and it does what it says on the tin, as they say. You're on a scooter and you simulate going through a weird course of crap. That's all it does. I liked it. It's sort of like a stupid, ugly scooter version of Excite Bike.
That's exactly what it is. They looked at Excite Bike and they said, how can we do this as cheaply as possible? And Ninja Scooter Simulator was born. Now, that's not to say that I didn't have fun with this game, because I had a blast playing this game. This game, it's very hard to die. You can pull rad stunts, like turning your front wheel. It's rad because the game tells you it's rad. It says rad when you do it.
And it's spells it in cool guy font, and it comes up like a comic book.
I thought that the scrolling was smooth. There's a good sense of speed. This is not an unfun game. I had fun with this one.
Yes, I will say I thought they overused the bumps because that got old. And as you go up in this game, I was like you at the beginning of this game. I'm like, man, I'm cruising through this. I'm the king ninja. Well, later on, I felt like a white belt on my first day of class because they had so much crap coming out at you. They got holes. They got skulls. They got other skeletons on skateboards coming at you. They've got all the bumps. Now, I will say the guy who designed these levels was not a total idiot. They actually, if you look at the design, they're pretty cleverly done for the most part. But you get to some places they're really tough. But it's nothing like that ATX that's off-road somewhere where you just like get to points where you had to run back to the bike and you couldn't get on the bike.
That's much more, and of course that's a different developer. That's Codemasters, but
that game was a lot more frustrating.
I had a lot more fun with this game. Although ATV Simulator is probably a better game, I had more fun with Ninja Scooter Simulator. And by the way, for those of you that doubted my whole spiel about it's big in the States, that's one of the games. If you look at the cassette inlay, they're like, and it's huge in the States. You'll love it. So
he's back. Hey, listen, I believe you, man. You know, you're a lot like me in a lot of ways, Bo. In some ways, we're totally different. But when it comes to simple, like motor fun, I don't necessarily want the most deep. I like a good shallow jump around like an idiot game. Like this is 8-bitty as heck. It's got everything you would expect. I mean, I like the layout. It's visually, you can see what's happening. So it's not like, because we get sometimes on the ZX you have some trouble making out what's going on. This thing, the sprites are big. You know, the characters, they're big. You can see, like, even when you can't get past something, you can see what's coming. You can see the time. You can see the time things that speed up. You can see everything real well, and there's depth to it. So it uses some of the Spectrum tricks that everyone loves to use. It's not isometric, but they use depth. That the holes and stuff and the walls are sort of like 3-dimensional. You know what I mean?
I like the fact that, like,
and so
when you're driving, like in this stage right now, you're driving through a garage, but you see, like you said, it's a 3-dimensional effect. You see cars parked behind the wall, and you see the starry sky. And because of the way that they do the pixel swapping in this particular stage, the starry sky is red, like like Hades or something. But the colors aside, the art in this game is rather good, I think.
I'm just saying, this is a game you go out and pick up for a couple bucks. What, £2 and 80 something, 80.
This is £1.99.
$4 or $5.
Yeah.
Right. You go pick this up for that. I would be freaking losing my mind. I'm begging. I wish the CoCo had a budget section like this Spectrum does, because these games. It's funny when you look at these games. I mean, you could come in here and kill this game. You could kill it. Oh, it's so shallow and stupid. But you've got to consider sometimes what you were paying. I mean, you're paying so little for these games. And this game will provide you a good bit of entertainment, a lot of replay value. Plus, it's a challenge state. You can challenge scores with your buddies. You know, you can even challenge rounds. I like the aspects of it. Now, I don't know do you remember how many rounds you were able to get into this before you got killed?
I was able to play pretty far. I can't remember exactly how many I did. The first couple stages, you can literally just go as fast as you want and cruise on through them. It does sort of lull you into thinking that you're awesome before it turns up the heat. But I was able to I felt like I was making progress. The problem is, of course, is that the stages, although they have more obstacles, nothing about them changes. I think that there are 3 stages and they just sort of endlessly loop.
I on my very first game, and I picked up the stick. I'm sitting here playing. I got the round 6 right out of the gate. You know, I love not sucking immediately. I don't mind if it gets harder, but give me something. And I like games that do that. And this game did. Man, I started off well, like you said. It progressively gets harder, and with a little practice, I think I got to like round 12 or something like that. I didn't get as far as what we're seeing now, but I did pretty good. You know, I tried this with the keyboard and the joystick, and I have to say this is one where I prefer the joystick to the keyboard quite a bit. Did you try this on the keyboard?
No, I was stick all the way.
Yeah. Now, this one also got released, and I didn't look at these. I wish I had. This got a release on the Amstrad CPC and on the C64.
Oh, we'll have to check those out, because if they can fix the color problems.
That one, it got scooted around to a few more console or a few more computers, and you can see why. I mean, it's not like a super complex game, but I mean, it does a decent job.
You know, knowing the ports and the way that ports go, it would be a real shame if they just brought it back over. But it looks like, I'm looking at the Amstrad version right now. It is very colorful. So we'll have to check this out later on down the line.
What did you think of the sound in this thing, Bode?
You know, it is what it is.
It was as you would expect on the Spectrum.
Yes.
Our favorite line. There you go. I found some review scores on this thing, Bode. The World of Spectrum, our go-to site for this sort of thing, they give this a 7, straight up 7. Now they're a little tougher critics than the Lemon people. Your Sinclair gave this 6 out of 10, Bo. They really didn't like it that much. And Crash gave it a 70%. So now, we look at this thing through modern eyes, and we look at what we like and what's simple to understand and play. I guess at that point, maybe, because this was 88, you had a lot more refined games and probably better looking, better colored games than this. And so they were probably expecting a little bit more for their games. But again, for a budget title, I think this is a real winner.
Absolutely.
Did we get any Discord action on this,
Bo? Paul, a.k.a. Hermsky, writes, a final ARG Sinclair Hermfirm 7 out of 10. A fast-moving side-scroller game that requires either skill or sheer luck when riding quickly. Very satisfying when you get a good run, chaining jumps together at high speed right up until you stumble to a stop. A good selection of levels that naturally gets harder as you progress. Could do with some better sound effects, but overall a decent game. And Frodo L writes, nice side-scroller that reminds me a lot of Metrocross. It feels more playable and easier than that game though. Decent graphics, nice fluent scrolling, reacts well to the controls. The sound effects are nothing special, but they work. 7.5 out of 10. So that's going to wrap up the reviews that we got. Thank you guys for writing reviews. And as we eBay, Aaron.
Under $5 as usual. Yeah.
And this is it. This is the end of our Sinclair for a while. We never say never on the Amigos Retro Gaming Network. And you might want to not unsubscribe to the feed. You might want to keep it around because you never know. We might want to do one of these things again. But as a regular weekly podcast, our Sinclair is drawing to a close. We sure do appreciate all the fine folks that supported the show, especially on Patreon. We never expected to have the kind of crowd that we've gotten. And the great news is that the fun will continue on Discord forever. And I know that I'll be streaming tons and tons and tons of Spectrum as we go on through the summer. I've already got a list of things that I want to try out. So, Aaron, do you have any final thoughts about the show or the Spectrum in general?
I do. I wasn't 100% on board whenever we decided to do this show because I wasn't sure, what we were getting into. And of course, at that point, we really hadn't done anything, else except for ARG. And this was a real a good time. I really love the Spectrum, and it's been a lot of fun playing with the one we got, the two we've got now. And it really sucks that we're having to, I'm doing it for the right reasons. I hate the fact that we're having to pull this thing to a close, but I can tell you there will be a lot more Spectrum action now that we're going to be on our own, because me and Boat will do some streaming on that. And I will say we're announcing on ARG this weekend for the shows that are going away or going on hiatus for a while, which are our Sinclair and the CoCo show and 1200 XL. We're going to be making a special announcement on ARG Sunday in regards to those systems and trying to give them a little love over the summer on ARG Presents. So there will be more Sinclair and CoCo and Atari coverage going forward. And plus, like Boat said, never say never. Hopefully at some point we'll get to come back to our Sinclair. And even if me and Boat just get to knock off a show here and again, maybe every couple months or whatever, we'll probably still hopefully have a chance to do a couple one-offs now and again, because we do. This is one thing's for sure. We're not shutting down our Sinclair because of a lack of love or enjoyment for the system. We both are madly in love with the Sinclair.
Absolutely. This is the surprise of the century. When we first got the Spectrum, I'd never seen it before, in person, of course, when Gary sent it to us. And when I started looking at footage of the games on YouTube, I was just struck by, I'm a big colors guy, and just the colors. It reminds me a lot of the Vectrex, in that there's not really another system that looks like it, And some of the stuff that we've played on here has just been mind-blowing. Not that it was this technological achievement, but just the breadth of the style of the games. I was really expecting a lot of like Manic Miner type games on this thing, but it's so much more. And of course the Clive's Club and the Discord crew were so helpful in picking out some of those gems. So
Yeah. They turned us on to a lot of stuff that we never would have ever seen, ever.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, don't think about this as an end. Just think about us putting pause on things for a while. And you never know, we may be back before you know it. But for the very last time, for right now, we're going to say rewind tape.
And press stop.